Welcome to Sound Values, powered in part by LSA Burger and...
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight on Denton in the beautiful Discover Denton Welcome Center on the ever-darkening but cool tonight Denton Square. It feels lovely out there. Tonight, I am here with two very special guests. I've got Caleb Coonrod, great to have you with us, and Mike Rosser here.
Howdy, howdy.
Awesome. Hey, how you guys doing? Had the pleasure of watching perform in a wonderful group called Remain. Lettuce here, because the first time y'all ever played at LSA, they said it, and we could have sworn that they said Romaine.
One had written it down somewhere, and they had put it up on a Facebook post, but Romaine is not what we are called.
Yeah, you are Romaine. Exactly, yeah,
So.
the Flintlock Gypsy, who I actually got to watch as well. And you were up there rocking this lady, because she was like, who are these guys? You know, so they were time that I've had you guys on up at LSA and all over the place. With Remain. Start off with one question. I'll just kind of give the audience a feel for who we're talking to. So the first question that I want to ask for Caleb here is, what is one of your first musical memories?
My mother playing guitar at church. She used to have a very nice voice. She used to be able to sing like a bird, very smooth, and she did a lot of the finger-picking, melodic stuff straight out of the 70s. She smoked way too many cigarettes to sing anymore. So, yeah, I think I have a higher voice than she does now.
What about you, Mike? What kind of what like got you wanting to play and start writing music?
Say, he brought up a pretty good point. Is I was in the church for a long time, and that just watching, we had a huge choir, like 50, 60 people in there. Human vocals, like it was trippy. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely something about that, man. Like, I went to Catholic church for years growing up, and those have the big choirs, you know, and it's just like, and if you ever took like a music history class, like one of the things they have you study is like, I forget even the name of that type of music all of a sudden, but it was just Gregorian. It's like they can either be like haunting or beautiful. I can see that. But Caleb, what kind of music did you guys?
Well, my mother, she liked the Eagles, but she taught me. That's kind of, and there wasn't a whole lot of my music. Like, I don't ever remember either one of my parents putting in a record and saying, "Check this out." My dad is obviously a fan of the. We're in Bonham, Texas, pretty far out in the country, and my dad liked.
Bonham, Texas is though, man.
Yeah,
I know Bonham.
So there's up and discover folk music and Bob Dylan and stuff like that. Just whatever my parents heard on the radio, and or had one. There's not one anymore. Hands-on, cousins, friends, and not until I was.
For sure, man.
You know what music is.
Yeah,
so.
it takes a little bit of time, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, oh, your cousin showed you punk rock. It was not quite like that.
I understand. Divorce as well. I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Like, my dad listened to a lot of and the Nashville '80s,
Yeah.
hardcore country music.
Yep.
And
That stuff, man.
Mom was into like Joplin and so they like for the first it was never really talked about or introduced. It was if you were in the culture.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I came coming out, and we were at the Dollar General, and I saw a Disney theme song CD. That was the first CD that I ever had.
Really?
Like Beatles.
Nice.
Big Beatles fan. I was a
Okay.
little kid.
Man, that's awesome.
That's what's up, man.
And then
Very
I
cool.
Rock and screaming roll.
Yeah.
And straight into like, I guess, into the hardcore scene and totally the emo stuff. And I don't know, just kind of bounce back. And I've been able to listen to all of it without discouragement. So it's just like, yes, we're going to take and listen to everything.
That's what's up, man.
We were totally discouraged.
See, I had two older brothers and a younger brother, and I remember my brother bought me the Offspring Americana CD. It had the pretty. You go get a job, and I still hear those songs, and I know every word to them. My mom was just like. Like you buy it at Walmart, they're like
that's the Eminem CD.
Yeah,
I bought the Eminem CD.
That's funny. My mom, I remember when 8 Mile came out.
You don't do
but
that.
At that point, I had a car, so I cut a little slit into where I could slide CDs of it in and put it back together so they wouldn't notice.
Well,
So.
Tony Hawk taught me punk rock. Like the Tony Hawk video games,
there
and
you
the
go.
soundtrack for that whole thing.
Yeah.
You're like swinging udders in there, and just all sorts of this.
That song used to play.
Dropkick Murphys.
That song used to play so much. I had to play it, and I was like, Ace of Spades has got to go.
Well, it was like the go-to track. So every time you start it, you're like, God, one more time, huh?
One more time with the. That's awesome. See, I told y'all, I was like, the interviews are going to go all over the place. I promise you. You start off talking music, next thing you know, it's Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk.
That's awesome, man. All right, so growing up in Bonham, Texas, man, I know you were saying there wasn't, you had a small radio station, kind of local, didn't have a lot of that, but you had to do a lot of the discovering of music rather than just listening.
Like I said, my mother showed me some chords on the guitar when I was a kid.
That's right.
Obviously, and then I got in high school, and some of my cousins, and when my cousins would come down for the holidays, we would all jam.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was terrible. Nobody would play. There wasn't a band or a record that I was just kind of like, well, I don't really have it. 14, and so it wasn't like you could put in your favorite record and jam along with it or anything. And I don't know, one time my cousins left, and I just kept sitting in my room after football practice and playing guitar till kind of started doing that and formed a couple of bands. Cool. And they, just had
some battle of the bands.
Yeah.
So besides like those chords that your mom taught you, those John Vinver, did you just learn? Because like I learned to play guitar by reading tabs.
Okay.
That was
yeah.
Like to kind of write and or play in a way where you could start to play with other people.
Uneducated, terrible way possible, probably. Find yes. But you find a song you like, and there was a cross, and I didn't have any. So he's like, check out this song. Let's learn how to play. And you learn how to look it up, and when they say this word, you write C when he says that, and then you play a C here, and it doesn't quite. Just kind of learn the chords and in that chord or go to a different song, you know.
I love it.
But no one, I had no training, and no one in my family had any. You know, no one knows, and I in the general vicinity of the melody, and I don't like it. It's terrible.
Hey, I like it, man. That's just I like the way that's way better than I did, and so I would play with them, and I would just watch what their hands did, and now that's where I should go, and then I'll go here, you know. So what about you, Mike?
Okay, so my mom decided that it would be and I don't know. I was getting obnoxious enough to where she's like, we need to find you more hobby. Just get out of the house for longer than, you know. She sent me off, not sent me off. She gave a dude that did classical lessons. I didn't want to do it, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, try, I guess, because there's no getting out of it. Like it's either a beating or no, not really. But lessons, and it's all
Mike, get up there and play.
What you worked on it. Man, I don't know if I can. So but I could see what. Let's do that. Perfect. And for like 4 years, I did. He sent me into a rock dude that gave me tabs, and it was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Here we go. And from that, this is cliche, but it was Purple Haze.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there's nothing wrong with enjoying that one, man.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's so funny, man, is I've interviewed a lot of different people, and sometimes you father used to play with Bob Dylan, you know, under a bridge, and then he taught my dad how to play, and there's like, you know, 90 years worth of guitar knowledge in these fans. Plays with his teeth and his nose. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
I remember, like, I got grounded for bad grades when I was like 14.
Oh, wow.
And my dad had a guitar, but he never played it because he worked in construction, and his fingers were always getting crushed by hammers, so they were too fat to actually like play the strings.
Power
chords.
Yeah,
that's what I would tell him. I'm like, you can play power chords. He's like, no, I'd just rather not.
Step away.
But I picked up his guitar, and I just went into my room because I was like, you know, like, all right, you're gonna send me in here for all weekend. Cool. I'm gonna do something the chicks will like.
Practice I ever came back from that I enjoyed. The girl was like, "Hey, that sounded good," and I was hey, that sounded pretty good. And I was like,
this is working out well for me right now.
That worked.
Yeah.
Okay. That was what it was for, but that's sweet.
Speaking of school, Caleb, how did you find your way from Bonham to Denton?
Okay, well, I in high school what I liked was music, girls, football, and I also rode horses for my wife, her grandfather. At the time, we weren't even dating. And I started breaking So after high school, father, and he came up there for a show, and he's like, man, you need to come work for me. And we could do some good together. And we had been like hanging out on the porch one night after this big show, and I lived in a bunkhouse, like stereotypical, you know. And I was like playing guitar and playing every song I knew, and we're just hanging out. And he's like, dude, if you come to work for me, you've got to pursue that in some way. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so anyway, I go to work for Steve at the end of that year, and he walks in one day in the barn, and I'm out there doing, got horses saddled, and he's like, hey man, I got you a gig at Rascals tomorrow night. They're going to pay you $100. And I was like, what? And he's like, all you got to do is follow me down there, bring your guitar, and play him a couple songs. I was like, all right, well, yeah, let's do it. He's like, no, like, we got to go now. And a couple songs on the bar, and yeah, come do this again Saturday night. And I was like, $100. Wow, this is cool. So I had a regular gig there once a month, and pretty soon I told Steve, I was 19 years old at the time, 19, 20, I don't know. And I said, Steve, I got to go try to form a band and do this. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's why I told you to come work for me, man. And but I was terrible, and Steve's a guy that when you hang out with him, you just feel cool, and he's just a great dude. And so I quit working for him, came back. I was like, well, I need a nothing job, and worked a couple jobs, worked at a Target for a while, worked a couple temp jobs, worked at a warehouse, got a job finally as a spot welder. Did that for 2 years and formed a couple versions of Remain. Mm-hmm. And this was in like 2009. And then along that, I was kind of like, well, if I ever want to like coach football or something, in case this doesn't work out and I don't want to go ride horses again, I need to get my college degree. So I had gone to 2-year college. I did all that, and I would go to college at 9 and play music whenever I could. And I still remember I would keep track. I was like, I have 2 gigs this month. I'm awesome. I thought that was like a big deal, and I was just stoked. I'd try to book gigs. And so anyway, kept doing that, and I was like, I'm done here. And a short stint, I was working actually at a feed store, and I met this guy, Randy Robertson, who was a jazz student at UNT back in I believe in the 80s. And he is an awesome musician. He's great, and I think his daughter Savannah used to work up at LSA up here.
So I know Savannah very well.
Yeah, and so her dad is the reason I moved to Denton. He was working just by chance. He's working at a barbecue store. I'm sorry I'm dragging this out, but
this is awesome.
So he's working at a barbecue store next to this feed store in the middle of nowhere in Leonard, Texas, and so I go down there, and my mom's a school teacher. She was doing some work there in the summer because she gets bored, and she's like, Caleb, you got to watch this guy play guitar. I brought my guitar, and I was like, dude, yeah, let's hang out. Let's show me what you know. And finally he's like, if you really want to do this, you ought to move to Denton. And he's like, I'm telling you, when I was in lab band, he was in the 1 o'clock lab band at UNT in, I think, the 80s. I don't remember. So I'm done with junior college. I finished that. I've tried to start a couple bands, and the guys there's not really a scene up here, and and there's nowhere to play. And so I came to Denton, and I went to an open mic at Banter on a Thursday night. Matt Grigsby was hosting in place of Bone Doggy.
Yeah.
And I met Jake there the next week. I met so many friends that first couple of weeks I was in Denton. They were just like, and I went to every open mic every week I could, and finished my degree in English literature, and still trying to play music before I get to be 65 years old and retire.
Yeah, man.
So,
what I'm personally amazed is your name recollect. Like, you remembered so many names.
Oh, man.
So
well, these were like big big events. You know, this is like these people like changed my life. Like no kidding.
Steve, it's like him telling you this. That one gig, that one moment, he sees you playing that guitar, changes it all, man.
Exactly.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
I actually talked to him the other day. He hit me up on Facebook and told me to get a haircut. I was like, "This is your fault."
So how about you, Mike? What's your story, man? How did you make it up here to Denton? How did you get involved with Remain? You know,
that's a short story. That went. Hey, let's go play some music up at Audacity one time, and then Caleb was like, "Hey, let's hang out."
He came to the open mic I hosted Audacity, and I met him there. And
do you host? Is that a once a week thing? Is it
every
still
Thursday
going on?
night?
Cool. Every Thursday night, you can go up there, go up to Audacity for the open mic night.
We got
That's
some cool
awesome.
people coming up there. I would say, let's see. So mid junior year or something like that, I got jumped into high school. Mm-hmm. I was like, Mom, I feel like this weird, creepy kid that doesn't ever talk to anybody. So let me do. That was the worst idea of my life. Worst idea. But we jumped in. I jumped into high school and met a dude, Zach Howell, that he did art, and he was like the only other kid really that I knew that like really put his time into an art. Because at that point I'd been writing songs for a couple of years, so it was just like, yeah, you paint, I'll write some music, we'll jam and like hang out, and we played a bunch of Halo and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But he moved up here to he did art at UNT, and I think it was graphic design major. But he came up here and I was like, okay, I ran out of friends. Okay, no, I don't know anybody in the town anymore, so I'm going to go to Denton and follow him like a weirdo. So I come up here and start hanging out, and I just start crashing on a couch more and more often, to where it's just like, okay, I'm here, I'm kind of invested. And then he had a roommate that had a friend that lived 2 houses down that played drums, and that's Adam Thompson. Was my first dude that I ever got to like really, you're playing music and I'm playing music, and this is super awesome.
Nice.
I think
Very cool.
The first show we ever played was the J&J's basement.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good one.
That big, moldy, wet room was one of my favorite places in Denton. It's so amazing.
Yeah, I played there a couple times. Loved it every time.
Yeah.
So good, man.
And that really was just because I've always kind of pushed and tried to get out and talk to other musicians, and that's just kind of how this whole thing, for the last, I've been in Denton for almost 8 years or something along those lines, and it's just really cool, like, to be able to be in a town that is constantly flowing more people in and funneling more people out, and you just get this nice connection and network that after several years of people moving off, you've got something like this nice person over here that you worked with in the past, and just building a network out of having fun and playing music with people and rocking out. Like,
truly, man. Truly. I mean, when I moved up here 4 years ago to go to school, I lived in Irving, and I was just making music in my room. I'd never played a show, you know, like, especially with all my own stuff. I had done, like, I used to write raps and stuff, and I had a boss who heard me rap one time. He was like, you got to come play. I lived in Colorado, and we lived in a small town, and so, like, you know, it's like little small town notoriety, like in the little mountain towns doing your thing, and loved doing that. But it wasn't until I moved up here. I remember I was at Lights All Night down in Dallas, the New Year's Eve show. Yeah. And there was this girl standing next to me, and we were just kind of waiting, and we just kind of started talking. And her name was Dandy Doyle, and her boyfriend was this guy named the Whittler. And the Whittler,
not just the Whittler.
He was the Whittler, and like he made like dubstep, dark wubby type stuff. Yeah. And I told her, I was like, oh, I'm getting ready to move up to Denton. She's like, oh, you should come to Andy's. There's this thing called the Denton Dance Collective. And I went in there, and I kind of was like, you know, this isn't, like, I don't really have a place right here right now, but maybe I can do something else. So I started investing in a bunch of lighting, because I noticed some of the venues didn't have great lighting at the time. And that was what got me my in with these kids, because I was like, I don't I'm not a very good DJ, and I'm learning how to make this music stuff right now.
I can push these sweet light
but
buttons.
I can play these light buttons, and that's my way to be cool with all these other cool guys then. And then
we can throw our own festival.
That is precise.
It's pretty cool.
I'm not even kidding. That's what I said. I was like, okay, no one knows me here. I'm not going to get shows yet, so I need to just start creating my own, like make it. So we would do house parties and all that stuff, but just like you were saying, man, just the network of people that you can get to know. Like I met Jake working up at LSA, and that's why I'm here right now. And then a lot of other people who I've met. It's crazy how many people, like, all those Denton Dance Collective guys, they're gone and they're off doing other stuff, but it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing, kind of what I get to do right now.
Exactly.
So it's a lot of fun, man, and the connections that you make, and it's hard to leave the town too, like even
worst.
the people, like my dad tells me, he's like, don't go anywhere. He was like, I graduated from here in like 1978, do not go anywhere.
Oh, that's cool. Your parent, that's awesome.
my dad graduated from here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he still calls it NTSU, North Texas State University. Yeah. I actually found a plaque one day, like a couple years back. It's still on like a random building. I was like, oh man, no.
Yes.
I wanted to and send it to him. Be like, here you go.
Yes.
But guys, I wanted to start getting to some of the shows you got coming up, some events. I know Mike's got a new record coming out, and Remain has a new single. So we've got a Halloween show coming up. Tell me a little bit about that, Caleb.
Well, it was kind of Mike's vision to get Remain, Flintlock Gypsy, and a band we jam with a lot, Sonar Lights. They're from Fort Worth to play.
Those guys,
They rock, man.
Man, we love those guys.
We love you guys.
Sorry, those guys are just great musicians, great dudes, and shout out to Sonar Lights. So we're doing the Halloween show at Killers, October 28th. Starts at 7 p.m. It's a costume party. That is a Saturday night.
Yes.
So
costume party. I think we're talking.
Give them some details, Mike.
There's some works of some tasty goodness for this. We're looking at. I don't know. We want some special little events. There's a toss up right now. That's possibly we might have a pumpkin chunkin' contest. I don't know how far that's going to go, but we've got some raffles. There's a prize, cash prize for the costume winner.
Nice.
We're going to have like a whole judging thing. And
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We're going to try to get some solo artists to open up too. We've got a plethora of people to kind of see if they're available, and then, but yeah.
That's awesome. Is there a cover that night?
It's $5.
Nice.
Or a costume. If
Okay.
you actually take, and that's the thing. I love this stuff so much. I don't want to, but there's sometimes you've got to make a little bit on the end. But with that being said, if you guys put the effort towards, like, dressing up and coming out and feeling festive, then we are obligated to give you an exclusive free time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Man, I was on Fry Street for the Oktoberfest this weekend, and they had a costume contest.
Yeah.
And what I realized is if you want to win a costume contest, you and your dog dress up.
Yep.
And you've immediately
That's-
won.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
This lady took the cake. It was over. She had like lederhosen custom made for her pup, and he was loving it.
That's almost not fair.
I know. I know. They had
Maybe we
that's
should
cool.
specify. But I did put a dog costume in the flyer. So
Killers is actually named after a dog, is what Michael told me.
yeah,
So.
there is a little chihuahua. There's a poster on the right hand side once you walk in.
That's what that is. Okay.
That's exactly what that is.
Okay.
That's who. Okay,
It
I
says
always wondered.
Killers expletive.
It's his taco. It is his.
Yeah,
They are
no,
his tacos.
Killer
His
is the
tacos, man.
little chihuahua.
That's awesome. So we've got that. That's a Saturday, the 28th.
Yes.
Got that Halloween show. That sounds like a lot of fun, man.
And if you haven't tried their tacos, I don't know. Have you checked them
I
out
haven't,
yet?
man. I'm guilty.
Get it, man.
I know.
They're
I'm
delicious.
guilty. Like I remember driving by that place, and it was no longer the White House one day, and it was just Killer's Tacos. I was like, oh. But they've been doing a ton of good stuff. I mean, they've got shows going on every week over there. Open mic night. It's great to see how many. For one venue that's gone, another one pops back up.
Yep.
Sure,
That's
absolutely.
one thing that I've noticed. Sure, we do miss that stinky, dark, dank, dirty basement.
Yes,
we do.
But the outdoors
we
is
do.
nice, and they just redid their backstage, and they're working on some other stuff. That's pretty slick, man.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. Awesome stuff. And so, once again, Killer, 7 p.m., costume party, $5 cover or a costume.
Yes.
Or
Right.
or just effort, you know?
Yeah,
Just some
effort's what
effort.
we're looking. But if you just come with vampire fangs, that's not enough.
No, that
Yeah.
doesn't count.
Yeah.
We're going to
Yeah.
charge you
Yeah.
$4
Yeah.
and take your vampire fangs.
I was
'Cause
gonna
I
say
want some.
$1 discount for the $1 fangs you bought at the Dollar
Yes.
General.
Exactly. That's what we'll do. Is like we'll digress. Like
Yeah.
you kind of dressed up, $350.
And then the best gets the cash prize.
Yeah. Oh man. So then we also have some other events that you guys have done, and then we have some that are actually coming up. We've got the pancreatic benefit, which y'all did recently. So
Absolutely.
it was a little bit about that.
That was gnarly. Actually,
It was at Shipping and Receiving in Fort Worth.
Okay.
And the bass player in Flintlock Gypsy, Chris Wilder.
it's like one day. Okay, so our
Tell 'em,
bass
yeah.
player, it's kind of crazy. About a year ago, he got a call from his doctor while we were at band practice, and he was like, "Hey man, you got pancreatic cancer." And we were like, "Oh wow!" So we're just gonna go in there and jam out as hard as we can. We rocked out and it's been an interesting thing, but I think, dude, he's got he had his surgery like 2.5 months ago, and he's got 2 days left of radio and chemo, and he's done. And they're going to clear him, and it's just.
And he looks great.
And he looks great.
Yeah.
But he actually somehow, in some sort of crazy mix, his nephew or his niece called him up and was like, "Hey, one of my neighbors is doing this thing for this whole pancreatic cancer bin. It's called PanCan. Hashtag PanCan." But this whole event was put on by his niece. No, this whole event is put on by his niece, who just happened to have a neighbor that was putting on an event and called us up and said, this, and it was, I think we raised almost $1,400 in like 5 hours for the whole event, which is
awesome.
It
Man.
was super cool.
That's great, man. It's a great cause.
It was a great
cause
event.
right there.
Stephanie Unch also played there.
Yes, and Copper Root.
And Copper Root,
Cool.
another band she's in, and Flintlock and Remain. And Shipping and Receiving is a great venue, great sound, and it was a great
Super
cause
cool
on a
stage.
beautiful day. Yeah,
Yeah, that's great, man.
It went well.
And so then we've also got a Hurricane Harvey benefit that's coming up.
That was last
That was
Friday.
that's last Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And actually,
Mike's old band did that.
Yep,
Yeah.
band that I've been. I guess we had a kind of a reunion show because our drummer left for Austin. Everybody graduated and had smarter way. Like the guitarist and lead singer is like a neuroscience. He's doing like crazy.
Yeah.
Growing mouse brains and shooting neurons through them. Just like
things we can't even imagine. Yeah.
Their old guitarist is like perfecting all sorts of great Western medicine off in like St. Louis right now, and it's
That's
just
awesome.
super great group of dudes that Alex Tripp, or he's the guy that kind of put the whole thing on, and he's everything that we've done through them has always been for. So we did canned goods. A canned good drive. We did a drive called Jacket Off, where we got jackets for a homeless shelter.
Yes.
What else has he done? There's so much that guy's really brought to the table. And the last show that we played was we sent, I think we made 500 for
The Hurricane Harvey?
It went straight to HoustonTex.gov.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Great to hear. Yeah, and there's so many great benefit shows that went on for that up here. It was,
Man.
it was awesome,
it was
dude.
really great seeing everybody pull together.
Yeah, it was like if you could, you did.
Mhm.
You know, and
Absolutely.
it was awesome, man. And then we've got something going on at Harvest House on October 14th.
Yes, correct. We've done the last 2 years. Remain has played for the Denton County Friends of the Family Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we met them through Jeremy at Musicians Hub. Shout out to those guys. They also provide the guitars that are hanging behind us. But
That's true.
We practiced there many times.
yeah,
Their practice rooms are cool.
right, absolutely. And so we've been doing this for Hillary and all the lovely people at Denton County Friends of the Family. This will be the third year. And I believe things start around 7.
Cool.
And that is October 14th, Saturday night.
At Harvest House.
It's always a good time, and it's a great cause as well. So
That's great, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I love, man. Is like we said earlier, you know, I feel like in the music community, man, there is just, especially up here. I mean, you know, get around and have been to other places and down to Austin and Dallas and, great people in all of those cities. But what I just love to see is in the town that I'm living in, is, just to play to help, just play to help other people, to be there for each other when it's needed, and, just like you said, it's not all the time, but sometimes it's nice to make a little scratch on the side. But at the end of the day, like I always said, I was just like, if I could be in the middle of the woods, as long as I've got a way to play something, I'm going to play some. I'm going to play some music. You know,
it's not going to change where I play.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. So that's awesome that you guys are coming out. You're making things happen, not just for yourselves, but for other people as well. And to speak of making things happen, I believe Remain's got a new single coming out.
Millennial Nation. We put that on iTunes on August 21st. We still have a little promo vid on our Facebook page. It's at the top, and it was kind of a fun little thing we did.
With Pat Leal.
Yeah, Pat Leal, and Pat did a great job.
It was fun.
It went well.
That's awesome, man. What's kind of the sound that we've got going on? Is it that, because you guys are pretty heavy rock?
Yeah, I'd say we're just American rock and roll.
Yeah.
I don't really scream or anything when I sing. I kind of just have I know what I can do in my range there, and then we try to accommodate that and write songs that report on the state we're in. I guess, So,
the preacher.
I hear you on that. Yeah, hey man, I get it.
But it's been going well. We have a manager in Florida actually who's put together a radio deal for us. We've been putting that. It's got some radio play. He has connections in England, a lot in the UK, Canada, Denmark, and then we were working on some stuff in LA and San Diego, just getting it to these radio shows of DJs he knows and people he knows.
So, maybe you didn't grow up in LA, maybe it was Bonham, but you'll get there eventually. You're on your way, man. You're on your way.
But it's going well, and we love the song. We're trying to, if we had the money, we would do a whole album around it. But it's great.
Goes,
we recorded it at Real Time Audio with Eric Delegard, who is ever so classy, and he's a pretty punishing dude, man. He does things right.
Classy and sassy.
Yeah. He's great at what he does, and he
that's awesome.
Really helps us. So
So definitely. Cool. So is that single is out?
Yes,
awesome.
You can find it on
Nation.
It's very easy to find. Just go to iTunes, search Remain, Millennial Nation, and you may have to look up how to spell millennial because I didn't know how to do it until I wrote the song. So
autocorrect.
Yeah, MILL. Yeah, two L's, 2 N's.
I don't even know.
ENN.
And then Mike, you've got a new record coming out.
Yes, we're in the progress right now. It's been different. Honestly, we just picked up the most amazing dude for guitars. We just picked up a new guitarist. Jacob Parsons is a beast. And now he's going, I'm not going to do what I was thinking about doing. But
he also looks like Kid Rock. He really does.
Yeah, he's a little sexy. He's a little sexy.
I love it.
But no, it's been.
I wrote that in my notes. Jacob Parsons, Kid Rock.
Kid Rock.
When I see him, Mr. Rock.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
First name Kid.
Yeah.
Last name Rock. No, it's been interesting. Our first album we did through Jason Champion and Zero Buffalo Studios, and we killed it for that. Honestly, I did not have a band for that album. I walked into his studio and said, okay, I know a bunch of musicians, and we're going to get one per song, and that's what we're going to do. And it took a year to do the whole thing. It was pretty time-consuming, but I think it turned out fairly well. And we decided to go a little bit different direction this time around, and I believe one of my bass player, Chris Wilder, one of his friends, I forget, the name slips me right now, but he's got a studio that we're working on our drum parts right now in, and then I think everything else we're going to pull back into. Chris and I have a decent little lab.
That's awesome.
That we're going to probably pull the rest of the parts back into, and I'm not really particular on how long it takes. I'm not really particular on other than getting the end result exactly where it needs to be, and that's where we're we're getting there, man.
That's what I like to hear, man. And so, where can we find Remain?
You can find Remain on Facebook, Reverb Nation, Instagram, YouTube, all at Remain Rocks.
And that is Remain.
Not Romaine.
Not Romaine. I just want y'all to know that.
Yes.
Rocks.
And then where
Rocks
can we Rocks emphasized. And then where can we find the Flintlock Gypsies, my man?
We find us on, what are we on? Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Reverb Nation, Bandcamp,
Awesome,
Apple Music, Google Music. Pretty much the works.
Yeah,
as
I
much
love
as
that,
I
love
could
that
find.
name too. I love that name, but like I told y'all, 45, 50 minutes is gonna fly by before y'all realize it. So that'll be a whole nother story of finding out where these names came from,
that's
man.
a fun story too.
But before we go, I've always got. There he is. He just wrote "kid."
Get it,
There you
Jake.
go.
Hey, boy.
So, yeah. So the last question I have to ask, it's one of the most important. I ask everybody in the studio. So, Caleb, what is your favorite snack?
Well, man, lately I've been digging on these smokehouse almonds, dude.
There you go.
But I got to go with Reese's, man.
Oh,
Reese's Cups.
All right.
Reese's Cups.
Carly Reese was the same way. She's like, Reese's Cups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with
You
Reese's
can't.
Cups.
And how about you, Mike?
Well, it's probably not my favorite, but yesterday was my birthday, and I decided that I was going to just lay in my bed and eat an entire bag of fiery Cheetos.
Those are my favorite too, man.
Yes. And it hurt so bad.
Yeah, it's so awful.
But it hurt so good.
Yeah. It's like, what is that John Mellencamp? Sometimes love don't feel like it should.
Yes.
Baby, bow, bow. That should have been your theme song in bed that day. It hurts
Yes.
so good. Oh, man. Well,
It
fellas.
hurt so good.
It's been I've laughed a lot tonight. It's been a great time, man. Caleb, once again, thank
Hey,
you
brother.
so much for coming
Appreciate
on.
it, man.
Mike, I mean,
Anytime,
45,
brother.
50 minutes flew by way too fast. Folks, once again, you can check them out at Remain Rocks. Also, make sure you check out Flintlock Gypsies. Tons of shows coming up. Halloween show the 28th. That's Saturday at Killers, 7 p.m. Check that out. It's going to be awesome. We've got a new single out from Remain called Millennial Nation and a new record coming out from the Flintlock Gypsies soon enough. Folks, thanks again for tuning in with us. We've got the Denton Vibe with Ellie Bell up next. Y'all stay tuned in and locked in right here on DentonRadio.com. We'll see you next time.
Peace. Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.